everyone, it's Shel C from Paper Rock TO Studio, and once again it's index cards day. Believe me, it's coming to an end soon. This is days 42, 43, and 44. So to start out with, I wanted to do some collage. I just was in a collage mood, and that's the kind of thing I wanted to do. So I decided to start out with a lavender background on some deli paper. That black bit at the bottom is just part of, this was a cleanup, just a cleanup page on deli paper where I just put extra paint. So I'm just tearing it up and making a background with that black bit being across there intentionally. That's a piece of packaging from a Tattered Angels mist, so it's kind of shiny. Struggling with this Nearly Gone matte medium that's become very rubbery and nasty, and it's just, yeah, I threw it away after this, I think. There's a tiny bit left, but it really wasn't worth it because it just kept having problems. Then I got my blue color box and a couple of my blue color boxes and got out some different pieces of paper. I have an idea for what I'm going to do. So then I get a piece of deli paper and lay it over the top and draw my image, which is a blue jay on a stick, and that black part is the stick. So that's the reason that I left it like that. This is a real quick card. Just, a quick little bird, because I was in the mood for a bird. We don't really get bright blue birds here in Arizona like this. Maybe they come around sometime, but I don't really ever see any. Most of our birds are brown and tan and taupe and black and white speckles and more brown. Don't have a lot of bright ones, but I remember seeing these in other places that I've lived. So I'm just attaching different colors of blue that I am ripping out in different places, trying to keep in mind what the bird looks like, and hopefully getting the colors in the right places, kind of. It's subjective. This is, this is all just what I see. What I see isn't necessarily what everybody sees, but I'm using my Liquitex liquid matte medium now and a brush because that other stuff was really getting on my nerves. So switch to the liquid. It warps the paper a little bit, but once you stick it down, it's not that big of a deal. I've had some of these scraps of paper for a really long time. And that one's the inside of an envelope, but it's got a neat pattern. Then I get a piece from my black color box and add his beak. And one more little feather sticking up on his head. Easy peasy. Then I just make sure everything's stuck down, and I put away the excess papers and give it a good dry. Then I'm just going to cut it out. I can see the lines of the drawing on the back, so I just turn it over to the back and cut it out along the lines roughly. I mean, nothing is perfect here. This is pretty, just a quick and easy. It's something that I enjoy doing. Oh, I guess I do get this stupid thing back out and try to use some more of that out of the bottom. I put a little water in there hoping that would help. It's just dried up and rubbery, and I just need to be done with it. So once my bird is stuck down, I'm gonna dry it a little bit more, and then I've got my fine tip black Posca pen, and I'm just going and doing some real sketchy fast lines to try to just define the edges of the bird and the edges of the wings and the edges of the tail, without doing 100% of an illustration, just giving it quick sketches around here and there. And then of course I get out the white, because if you have the black, you've got to have the white. Not sure what I would do if I didn't have a white Posca pen. I would probably go crazy. And I decided to draw a line border. A good little tip is to clean off the straight edge each time, because if you try to put it down on the next place, there's a good chance that you're going to get a smear of black. So that's why I'm doing that. And I'm just defining the branch a little bit, and I'm going to write the words "be free," and then I'm done. For day number 43, I once again am feeling the collage mood. And also I want to play with napkin texture. I want to crumple it up and try to make it look more textury. This is a Thanksgiving napkin, and it had a cornucopia on it, which I used, and then the other sections just have this kind of off-white crackly looking stuff, so I thought that would be a good one. And then as I'm putting it on with some Liquitex liquid matte medium, I'm like trying to scrunch it, wrinkle it, trying to get some texture out of it. It didn't work very well. I think napkins are too smushy to really give a good texture, but I don't know, it worked out. So once I dried it, I trimmed off the excess, and I'm still thinking about texture, thinking about trying to highlight those little wrinkly areas and folded areas. And so I get out some of my high flow again. This is the Copper Fine. I really love copper. Copper's my favorite metallic. And I'm just dripping it and like trying to get it to run into the wrinkly places to highlight them a little bit. It looks pretty cool. It's not dramatic, but it's pretty neat looking. So then once that's done, I decide to give it a good dry, and I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do with it? And I decided, since it was a Thanksgiving napkin, that I would make a pumpkin. So I'm going to do a collage pumpkin. So I draw my pumpkin out, get out the orange, red, and brown color boxes. I love that one print that I laid down first. That's such a cool print. It's a jelly print. And these are just different bits and bobs of scraps, you know, that I sort into my little plastic boxes by color. I'm trying to find something that's a brownish red, but I didn't get that successful. But once I have my pieces, I just start tearing them up and gluing them onto my pumpkin. I really like using the deli paper and drawing my sketches on the deli paper, because I don't have to be as precise about where I place things. I'm going for general color areas. Like, I know that I want the left side of the pumpkin to be darker because that's where the shadow is, and the right side of the pumpkin should be lighter. As the curve goes around, it should be lighter on that curved area and then starting to get darker as I go through. I know this, but I don't have to make my torn pieces of paper stay within the lines, because I know I'm going to cut it out. The way that I used to paper paint, I always had rougher edges because I was tearing to the point of the edge of something. Whereas now, when I use the deli paper like this, it's so easy because I know that I can go over the edge of the line and it's not going to be a big deal. I just need to concentrate on where I'm putting the color and not so much worrying about the straight lines or the curved lines. I mean, obviously I still have to like tear the paper in a curve in this one because the pumpkin is rounded and it does have the ridges, that are also rounded. So I'm conscious of that, but I'm more concerned about where I'm putting each color than I am concerned about the outline, if you get what I'm talking about. I hope I make sense. I get the brown back out and get a little piece to make a stem, because I hadn't gotten a dark brown piece out. And then I'm just making sure everything's sealed down, and then I'm going to give it a dry, and then I'm going to cut it out. I can see the lines from the back again, so I just cut it out. Then I decided to refine it a little bit. My original sketch needed to be a little refined. So then I get out some matte gel, and this is a newer one. I've now gotten rid of that older one that I was trying to use up, and now I've got this one that's it's a soft gel, which is a little bit different stuff, but I like it, so I'm going to be using it up, and then I'm going to go back to the Liquitex brand that I like better. So I've got that pumpkin glued on. I'm going to give it a good dry, and then going around the edges really roughly with the potting soil colored archival ink to make like kind of a real scratchy rough edge. And then I'm getting out my Pitt Artist brush pens, and I'm going to use a dark brown and do some blended shadows by just doing a little bit, blending with my finger, doing a little bit, blending with my finger. Remember, this is now sealed with the glue because I put it over the top and underneath, so it's very easy to blend. These are an India ink, so they're permanent when dry, but you do have a few seconds to blend it while it's still wet on top of a sealed surface like this. So the surface is not absorbent. It's not absorbing the ink, so that's how come it gives you a few seconds to blend. Then I decided I'm going to put some green curly cues, you know, the little viney things that pumpkins sometimes have. And then I decided it needs a leaf, so I get out the green color box and make a little leaf because it just looked weird without a leaf. I guess this pumpkin's still out in the pumpkin patch. But of course, if it's still really out in the pumpkin patch, it's rotted by now because this is not the right time of year for pumpkins. But hey, I wanted to make a pumpkin. I blame the napkin. It's the napkin's fault. So once I get my little leaf on there, then I get my pen back out and give it some more detail and shading, just for fun. And darken back up my curly cues. Then I just take my white and add some highlights. On that one side, the highlight was just, this pen keeps like leaking when I first get it open. And I need to pay more attention because it's like all collected at the tip when I open it up, and then I've got a big blob every time. So there's your close-up. So for card number 44, I have this printout. My friend Peg, I was asking her about vintage patterns because in the last Pick a Stick challenge I wanted to use one, but then I didn't end up using it. But she scanned a vintage pattern for me and sent me the files, and I had printed this out and it was on my desk, so I decided to use it. And this card is one of the ones that's left over from my jelly printing session with the 5x7 jelly plate that I did. I printed several of these index cards one day. It's a different video. So I decided I'm going to use this little girl in the crazy 60s outfit and pieces of the vintage pattern. So I put it on the card, and I decide the card is just too overpowering for the images, so I decide to knock it back a little bit using some titanium buff paint and my 2-inch brayer. And I think that looks better. It's not quite as crazy, but now it's kind of boring. It's just kind of boring. So I decide to put some pattern on it, but just bigger patterns so that it's not overwhelming. All those small details were competing with the dress. So I want bigger details to make the card more interesting, but not overpowering. So first I go around the edges with this blue because the edges, one of the edges was kind of light. And then I go ahead and use this Crafter's Workshop stencil. I believe it's called something about circles, something about, I don't know, I can't remember. But I'll put all the links to all the things that I use below so that you can get them if you want. Then I decide that I need to add in some green, so I go and get the green paint and use the little teeny tiny circles all over the place. Then I decide that's still not enough, so I decide to get the pink, which has pink on her dress too, and use the double circle one around with the pink. So basically I took away the pattern and then I put the pattern back on. But it's a different pattern because the other pattern was too busy. That's my excuse. Then I get a little bit of white splatters going on because I like splatters. And I do it on just about every single thing that I make. And calling that good. Then I decide, no, I still need some black. So I get out this French script stamp, which is an old one from Stampin' Up, and just stamp on a little bit of black script because I can. Then I put all my pieces on, and that's the little pattern number and price. Then I've got the Butterick, which was the brand of the pattern. And then I've got my lady in her crazy dress. It's kind of interesting how all the patterns, all the styles keep coming back around. I haven't seen that one recently, but I'm sure it'll be back. They always are. So then I do the edges with the watering can gray, and I decide that the writing is like too faded. So I decide to get out my my illustration pins, which are from Pitt. They're indie ink as well, and they're different sizes. So I get out the real small one and go over the letters in the corner and the numbers. And then I get a little bit bigger one and go over the Butterick part because it's just wasn't standing out enough. Of course, I printed it on inkjet, and it probably wasn't that high up quality anyway. So it was kind of a faded thing to begin with. Then I add some highlights with my white Posca pen, trying to make that Butterick really pop out. Then I decide the lady is now too faded. So I get out a dark brown, which there's a dark brown color on the shadows of the dress. And so I duplicate that with my Inktense pencil, and I just go around things and start adding in darkness so that it helps her blend in but stand out. It doesn't look like it's just stuck on there. It's like it's part of the card. And my intention is to blend this out with water, but when I use my water brush, it doesn't really blend. Something about the matte medium wasn't letting it. I put matte medium, liquid matte medium over the entire thing to seal everything in, and it didn't really let the Inktense pencil bleed as much as it should have, strangely. So then I decide to add in some more little details, like some darker brown in her hair, reddish brown, and some pink on her lips, to make those stand out. And then I color up her little bracelets, and then I try to blend again, but it's really just not blending very much, so not going to worry about it. Then of course the white Posca pen for the highlights, and you know the drill. So thanks for watching. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share. That's it for me. Bye bye.